I know it's a little late, but it is Tuesday, so welcome back and previously on Worlds Asunder.
Yep. It's the Lucky Charms cereal box. There is no leprechaun in the box, but you bought the damn cereal anyways.
I wrote that on their notes for you.
Huh?
As storytellers, we want to capture the hearts, minds, and imaginations of our readers, mainly through our expertly crafted worlds.
Creating new worlds in any genre might seem like a daunting task, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel for every story.
Welcome, weary writers, to Worlds Asunder, a world-building and writer's life podcast.
My co-host is David Shadoin, better known as Shady. It's not just a descriptor, it's also his moniker.
And she's H.Y. Grigger, or you can call her Haley, your friendly post-apocalyptic wasteland elf.
Together, we've got enough published to fill a small shelf, but why should you listen to us? Because we called in some favors.
Every other week, we bring you the best and brightest to give you the tips and tricks on world building and character building like the pros. So, open up your ear holes.
Get out your pen and paper.
And get ready for us to tear Worlds Asunder. Don't worry, we didn't forget about you. So this week, we're bringing you back to please judge this book by its cover, part 2. Tune in for the finale.
So I mean, that's what it's about, man. There's no leprechaun in the box. You still buy the box, still buy it anyway. Same thing. And like if you're a fantasy author, for example, and you don't have any dragons, don't put dragons on your cover. You know, okay? You don't have to do that. We're not trying to just mislead people, but you're just trying to create what the promise of the story is going to give the reader, and that's what it's all about, man.
Don't make an empty promise. Well, since you gave us the perfect segue for it, because you got into your class a little bit, you have a story that you told during that class that we asked you to pull up the slides for.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing your screen and kind of walking our audience through that whole thing?
Yeah, sure. All right, you got to remind me how to share.
Down at the bottom.
Share. The word share might be it.
And then the screen, and then it should let you choose which screen.
There it is. All right, now I can see it. This is so much better than Zoom, because in Zoom you can't do this, right? I don't see it. Maybe you do.
Oh, this is better than most recording apparatus that people use.
Yeah.
But
all right, cool. Listen, I'll not to give you my whole entire spiel, but. We're product packaging, guys. That's why cereal box. That's why I said cereal box. Your story is the product, and your product packaging. You don't need a book cover. You need a product packaged. That's the biggest thing I can say, because if you think about it in product packaging, it will give you a disconnect in terms of how you approach the cover design in the first place. Because it's not about a pretty picture. It's about getting a product to a market, and so you have to take that into consideration. So. First thing you do, you sell. We're going to pick our audience, do your cover research, do your genre research, so that you can know what the readers in your genre look like. That's the same reason Kellogg's has the leprechaun. They know what the eaters of the leprechaun cereal are looking for, the bright red colors and the sugary goodness. They have their target research done, and so they're plugging in, and then they plug in their own stuff, which is the leprechaun. So for you plug in the parts of your story that are unique to your story. We talked about 60-40. You plug in the 40% that is the unique part of your story, so that the cover stands on its own and is yours and conveys your story, right? So this is what happens. I get briefs all the time from especially new authors and from some seasoned authors. And we have to take care of them gingerly. But most of the part, it's the new author thing. And I understand you have all this information you want to have in your head, and you want to get it out. And so I give this story, and this is a legitimate story. This is the names and locations have been changed to protect the client and to keep me from defamation. But
this is 60 Minutes version of hiding the author.
Dun dun dun. Directed by Dick Wolf. That's what I should have at the end of this. Directed by Dick Wolf. I'm going to add that slide the next time I give this talk. At the end of the cover part, I'm going to say they've been changed. Directed by Dick Wolf. All right. So I get a blank cover. I get a blank page. Right, the cover's going to start. and then the author will be like, okay, the story is about an ogre. And I'm like, all right, cool. I can work with an ogre. That's awesome. Ogres are awesome. They're fantasy. We're writing the fantasy genre. This is great. And ogres aren't always the focus of a cover, so that's unique. That can set you apart from the general vibe of the knight or the paladin or the hero that you see. You get the ogre. That's really awesome. And then they go, okay, wait a minute here though. But it's about the ogres and they're fighting the humans. All right, cool. I can work with that. Again, ogres are awesome. Fighting the humans, that's cool. A battle scene, fantasy readers love that. We can make this work. Okay, great. But it's about the ogres fighting the humans, but also the leader of the humans, he's got a love interest. And so he's protecting her in the scene in my head, he's protecting her against the ogre. Okay, all right. Well, we're getting a little bit in the weeds here. But we can work with that. We've got 3 characters. It's going to take up a lot of real estate on the cover. We're going to make sure we balance things right. So we can kind of work with this. This will be good. And they go, well, wait a minute. There's more. They go, there's a tower. There's a dark tower in the story. All right, I can work with the dark tower. Okay, we got a dark tower. We got an ogre. We got the knight. We got the woman. We can put all that in there. We can make it work. Well, wait a minute. There's a wizard, and he's in the tower. So I need to make sure he's seen in the tower. He's got to be visible in the tower. All right. Well, scale and perspective and atmospheric perspective. There's a lot of moving parts there. He's going to be tiny, but maybe we can outline him right and make it look good. Like we can make this work. And they go, okay, well that's my main elements, but also there's flying monkeys, and they're not like the Wizard of Oz flying monkeys. These are like gorillas with wings who will beat your ass. So I really want to showcase them because they're a really fun element in the story, and I think they'd be really cool on the cover. I go, okay, all right. So we got the wizard, we got the flying gorillas, we got the ogre, we got the knight, we got the woman. All right, and then they go, and the name of my story is the ogre, the knight, the woman, and the wizard in the tower. And we've gotten to the point where it's too much. And then they go, well, wait a minute, before we get that far, there's one more note. The ogre's supposed to be sad because he is the one in the story who realizes that the wizard is the one who's controlling everybody. That's why the wizard's got to be on the cover. The wizard is the one who's controlling everybody, and the ogre's the one who realizes it. And just before he smashes down on the human leader, he realizes they're being controlled. So I need to make sure on his face there's this face of just kind of just kind of sadness or confusion or just like an aha moment that he's realizing, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this. And at that point, we've done too much. And this is a common brief that I get in the sense of the spirit of the brief. It's just so much stuff. And one of the things that happens in this process is the author typically gives the reader too much credit. They're not going to get it, essentially. They think they'll see that cover, they'll look at it, and they'll understand all these bits and pieces and all these little details. And the truth is, the reader's never going to see the wizard in the tower. He's probably not going to notice that there's flying gorillas. He will not notice that the ogre is realizing something. He'll wonder why the ogre has this weird looking face instead of this screaming face. So he's about to smash down on the knight and the woman. And so it's so much information that it's just visual overload. And so the way you move through this is any of these elements can work, but it's about finding which elements you want to highlight for your cover. The knight and the woman. It's a fantastic fantasy trope that you can lean into for a story, right? The ogre and the man is a great dynamic battle shot you could do. The ogre alone by himself is a fantastic piece you could kind of isolate and highlight and play to your strengths. Even the wizard in the tower, you could completely bypass the other smaller characters. The other characters and focus on the wizard in the tower. And all of us, all these elements work, but when you put all those elements together, like we talked about earlier, a reader who has no idea about your story, doesn't know any details, doesn't know anything, likely won't take the time to try and figure out your cover before they go and look and see the synopsis, and they'll just keep on scrolling and go on to something else because you end up with so much going on that you just don't make the connection like you need to, because you really have less than a second to usually capture someone's attention. You guys scroll on Facebook, you guys scroll on Amazon, you scroll on Netflix and stuff on your TVs. You know how fast you go through thumbnails. That's how fast your readers are processing your story, and so processing your cover. And so you got to make sure that the way you present your cover can capture their attention inside that quick second that you have. And so I'll go to my last little slide here, which is where the last part of my thing is yell, right? It's sell, tell, and yell. And it's got to be in that order. You have to sell to the market, tell your story, and then yell it. And if you're going to yell something, you need to make it brief and make it clear. And that's essentially what you're doing on a marketplace. You're trying to yell for attention. And so I developed this. I don't know if I can't remember if I come up with it on my own or if I read it somewhere. But simplify, amplify. You take the elements of that story, of your story, you simplify them down to the main key elements, and then you just amplify those elements. And so, like back to the story of the ogre, the knight, the woman, and the wizard. There's a lot going on there. You simplify the story down to the elements that you think are key, which would, depend on how the story plot plays out, could be any one of the any grouping here that I mentioned earlier. You simplify it down to that, and then you amplify that. And maybe we do get the tower in the background, and maybe there is like an Easter egg of a wizard back there that maybe some super fan will notice and call out. But that's not going to be what sells your story. It's going to be that simplified, amplified element. For example, here, this story with Valhalla Awaits. It's a great piece to give you an example of simplify, amplify. It literally is just a man and a dragon dinosaur thing. That's it. The rest of it looks like there's a lot going on. There's not. It's him, the dragon, and some fire and some random atmospherics that I added. And that was the key part of the story. This super soldier guy fights these monsters, and there was nothing else I wanted to showcase. There's nothing else to showcase, because I wanted the reader to understand this is what you're about to get into. This is what the heart of the story is about. So I simplified it down to those two elements, and then we amplified them. There's all kind of other plot points in the story that happen, all other little things that happen. They don't need to be shown because the reader doesn't need to know those right now. They need to know what the big hook is, and it's this engagement between the soldier and the dragon. So that was how I simplified it. And then let's amplify it. Let's put them in battle, man. Let's put like this guy's about to get roasted by fire. Let's amplify this, and make it really punch, And so for me, my style alone is very punchy and very dynamic. So the way I approach cover design, typically just by my style alone, brings in the amplified side. Like it brings its own amplification. And so depending on the cover artist that you may hire as an author, that cover artist style will likely bring some sort of amplification, quote to quote, to the store to your cover, because their style should be in the genre that you're wanting, and so so it should be able to kind of carry its own weight because of how they approach cover design in the first place. And so, but when you're crafting a brief to take to an artist, or if you're going to DIY it yourself, you have to think in terms of what's the simplified essence of my story, and how can I amplify those elements on the cover. So that's my quick spiel.
Oh, we appreciate you. I love that cover too. That one and Interstellar Pawn is incredible.
Oh yeah.
Don Chapman.
Yes.
Yeah, the newest one out.
Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah.
Speaking of Chris Kennedy, Chris Kennedy's gonna love that we've plugged all of his newest books.
Right. Yeah. And like his covers turn out really well, because most of the time he just gives me free reign to do what I want. Like he doesn't, he's like I said, it's just 2 or 3 sentences or 4 sentences, and it's just like, go play, man, have fun, Yeah.
Developing that trust.
Well, and I do want to point out, speaking of Bill's cover that you had up, because now granted, I have not read Bill's Last Marine series yet, but I am fairly confident that like particular way that fight scene is playing out is not exactly a scene out of the book, unless he gave you that.
Nope.
So that's one of the things is that like people are afraid sometimes of reader expectations that they're going to go back and check, or it's like, oh, I feel robbed. But that has not hurt Bill's sales in the slightest. In fact, I'm betting it's helped.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
I've had people bring up that to me too before, and they're like, what about, somebody will come back and say something. Have you ever read a 1-star review where the person said, I gave this a 1-star because what happened on the cover didn't happen in the book?
I'm sure.
And I'm going to tell you right now, somewhere, yeah, there'll be one, and there'll be somebody listening to this podcast and goes, well, I know the story, but that's the outlier, man. And like, you can't die, you can't die on the hill of the outliers, because literally you have not read a 1-star review where somebody said the cover didn't match. And if they did, it was probably such a gross disconnect that it was like, this cover was, I thought I was reading a romance and this was Tolkien, like it was not what I expected it to be. Like that would be a 1-star cover issue, but those things that are just like, you're taking liberties with your story, with your cover. And that's where it goes back to, think about it like a product package. There is no leprechaun in the box, and that's okay. That would be kind of weird if there was. That's okay.
You know what? I want a leprechaun marshmallow in Lucky Charms. That's what I want. I want to eat the damn leprechaun.
Yeah, and we fall for it all the time. Like, you buy a pair of Michael Jordans, he's not in the box. I mean, you can name Dr. Pepper. There's no doctor in the box. It's just called Dr. Pepper. Like, we do it all the time as consumers, but when you're the one selling the product, I get that you don't want to be disingenuous or want to mislead somebody, but you should take the liberties because you are product packaging. You're taking the product to a market so that it can compete in that market. And so you want to make sure it stands out above all else, above everybody else. So
I think that's a great way to look at it, because authors get real precious about our stuff. I hate the term book baby and the term book birthday, because that kind of implies that it's like a living thing that can't really be changed. And I hate that.
right.
But if you think of it as a package or product package, or if you think of your book as not just this amazing, like, artistic thing that I, bled over or whatever to produce, you say, okay, no, this is content that I am selling. And, it transitions from being your artistic practice, which is why we write, and goes into this is now a business and I have to be realistic if I want to be able to sell this, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that's it. Like, you can, you're talking about that, the art that you took into the story, and the effort you took into creating and crafting that story, and the characters that you love and know. That's great. Keep that inside the book. Drop it for the cover, because it's a business and you're trying to sell the product. I mean, and again, that might sound kind of icky, because I'm not trying to say, let's just sell ourselves out for the cover to make sure we sell, because you want to be personal to you and be proud of it, but take those liberties, because oftentimes those liberties that I've been allowed to take with my clients have led to greater, better, stronger, better covers,
Well, so we talk about a lot of what works, but what happens when you think a cover brief won't work, or you don't think it works? We kind of went through an example of that a little bit, where you just kept giving and giving and giving. Where is your line? Where are they asking deal breaker edit requests, and what if an author requests edits you strongly disagree with?
It's probably a case by case basis in terms of me. Like if they've got an idea for the cover, I definitely want to hear it. And if I think that I can close the gap and still make a pretty powerful cover, because I mean, there's a cover is not right one way. It can be right a whole lot of ways. Like, it can be awesome in a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, even if you hire a different cover artist who's just great, that alone can make still a pretty awesome cover that won't look like nothing like mine, and still be a sellable cover. So there's a lot of ways it can be right. So there's no one right way there. And so, like, if a client gives me a cover and I'm like, okay, this is great, but I would maybe think about it this way, or let's I'll try to talk them to a way that I think might be stronger or better. And if they say no, let's keep it like this, I'm okay with that. and I will, and my skill set is pretty strong enough to where I can cover a lot of ground in a lot of ways. But now there are times where the cover brief is not very strong, or the cover idea is not real strong, and the author wants me to go with it anyways. And again, I'll try to say, hey, I think maybe we should do this, talk about it this way, look at it this way, because we're trying to meet a market. We want to make sure it's sellable. I try to use all the nice words to say, hey, let's go this way. I think it would be strong. And if they're like, nope, I want it like this. I want pink on the cover, and pink has nothing to do with the genre, but I want whatever. I'm going to do it. We can Thelma and Louise this thing right off the cliff, and you can pay me on the way down. And I'm fine with that. And it'll never make my portfolio, but I'm fine with that, and it's not because I am hired by you, and I'm trying to make sure that, you're a happy client. And that's the rare occasion though. You're talking about, again, outliers, but most of the time I can have a conversation with people and we can kind of work our way toward it, and I've kind of now been in the business so long that a lot of people come to me with the idea of, well, here's my idea. If you've got something better, let's go that way, and so because I have a name in the industry now, as far as it goes, so I'm pretty flexible in a lot of ways. I've only ever had to fire one client, and I fired him in September this past year. First time in 12 years I've had to say, we're done, man. And we just could not work together. We were first proof I thought was on point. Apparently it was way off base. Second proof I thought was on point because he was really, really, really specific. Apparently we were way off base again. And I was like, okay, we're not going to be able to connect on the right way. Whatever you're saying, I'm not picking up. That's okay. It happens. I'm a professional. He's a professional author. he's a writer. I'm an artist. It's all good. I have no hard feelings. It's a business for me on the one hand, and I hold no ill regard for anybody. But it does happen. Sometimes you just don't fit, don't match up well. But that's, in my case, it's been rare. So.
Gotcha. Well, Haley already highlighted my notes for me, which is awesome of her. What are your turnaround times like? When should authors start to worry and ping you, if at all?
I typically have about a 4 to 5 week turnaround time for a cover from start to finish. For me, in my process, it's usually about a 2 week lull from the start date to the first proof. And then that first proof again comes pretty polished. And so there's sometimes the author's like, I love it, leave it alone, let's go with it. And it's done. But I call those unicorns because they are rare. Usually there are changes, and that's okay. I expect them, and so whatever the changes are, it's kind of back and forth. Usually typically takes 4 to 5 weeks, depending on everything that's going on and that kind of stuff, The one thing I will say though, for authors is if you're thinking about hiring a cover artist, contact them earlier than you think. Whatever time you think you're going to contact them, add 3 months to that time frame. So like if you're like, I'm going to contact them when I write the end, well, you need to contact them when you're on, when you're 1/3 of the way from the end of your book or whatever that looks like. 3 months back, scale it. Because a lot of times if there's an artist that you want to hire, they may not be available at that point. And that's one of the weird dichotomies that I've realized with authors is typically you look at it in a step process of manuscripts written, the editor, and then now cover artist, and then publication. And it really shouldn't be in that. It shouldn't be in that way with the cover artist, because when you get to that end, they may not be available, or they may not be able to fit your timeline or your deadline or whatever, And so you contact them beforehand, and you can get into their queue and be ready and line it up and be done with it. And some authors kind of have the idea that they have to be finished with the book for me to be able to do the cover. I've had authors contact me for I've done covers for LMBPN. Books ain't been written yet. They just gave me the series. The series is about the one that I'm doing now, or that I've done. It's about a fallen angel in Las Vegas. That's what they gave me. I did the whole entire series from that, and so I even gave the titles for them, which was pretty awesome. So, but they're going to write them out, So that there is, you don't have to wait to the last minute. And sometimes authors do approach it like that, where it's the last thing they think about before publication, but it's the first thing a reader is going to see. before they see your words, it's the first thing they're going to see. And so, some thought needs to go into that process, earlier than normal, than most authors think.
Yeah, you stole something I was saving for the end. The cover's the first thing any reader sees, right? Anytime, whether they've already bought the book or not. But speaking of, you were talking about titles on your website too. You talk about, and you and I were talking. I think we were talking a little bit beforehand about typography. How important is that when you're considering cover design?
Oh man, it's harmonious with it. That's another disconnect that authors sometimes don't think or don't take into consideration. I mean, the book cover is imagery plus type. It's both of them. It's both of those things. They don't stand alone from each other. Now you can have one that's more typographical driven, or you can have one that's more imagery driven with the typography smaller. But I mean, they still go hand in hand and have to sync up with each other or play off each other in a really cool way. So I mean, as a designer, you can take a lot of different routes with that in terms of how I integrate typography. But I mean, yeah, it has to have its place. It has to have its point. That's why if you look at a lot of my covers, if you remove the typography, you'll see just this big dead spot of nothing. And it's just like, why is that empty space? That's where the title goes. This is not what I planned, but you can see this piece right here that I did of the dragon and the cat, which I love this piece. You can see here, it's super dark. Nothing's going on. That's because the title went right here.
I feel like I've seen that before. What book is that?
Oh gosh, her name's Colleen Simpson. Is the lady I did the cover for.
It looks super familiar. I know. I'm sorry.
It's like
he did 2,000 covers, so I've
done a lot. Yeah. This same one right here that I did for Tim Watson.
That's gorgeous.
You can see the dead space up here. Again, the title went right there. These are the ones I had at MarchCon. That's why they're just back here. So nice. But they go together. And so if you're going to, just an FYI, if you're an author and you're going to hire an artist and a typographer separate, talk to your typographer first, or at least tell your artist to leave room for the type to go. Because I do that. I do a typography package for people, and almost all the time I get no space for typography. It's just because the artist is going to just fill the page up in their own way. They're not going to take into account. There has to be that kind of dead space. I just did one for a furry book. The furry people. Right. It's a furry romance. He contacted me. Look, hey, all God's creatures. All love, whatever. He contacted me. He's like, "You do typography?" I was like, "Hell yeah, man. Let me do it." So he sent me the stuff, and I did it. But the cover was wall to wall painted. I mean, there was no room at all for me to put anything. So I had to figure out how I'm going to integrate it in there, So if you're going to hire the typography separate, or the artist separate, take that into consideration. At least tell them to leave room, or talk to your typographer beforehand so that they can kind of maybe work together. So
Jake brings up a good point. We are here at Worlds Asunder. Do not kink shame. Feel free to enjoy yourselves in whatever way you see fit.
Hey, some people like vanilla, some people like chocolate, man. It's whatever.
We had the Hollows on, and one of the things we always joke about with them, because Edie, they write under the pen name Edie Sky and write a whole bunch of harem smut, and that was kind of the lead off. Like, we don't kink shame, and monster harem smut too.
Oh my god, I didn't know that was a genre, and I've got a friend of mine who's a cover artist in that genre, monster romance and harem and stuff, and I'm like, she sends me the titles, and they're awesome, they're hilarious. My Night with the Creature from the Black Lagoon, or whatever, or Love in the Lagoon, or something like that. And I'm like, what? This is great.
Yeah.
This is great.
Well, and Heather's art is gorgeous. The art that they get for those harem novels is really, really good.
Right.
And she says the same thing. Her artist is not cheap, but she's like, it is worth it because this is what sells the book.
Yeah.
I don't read that, but I would buy those books simply because the cover just draws me in. Like the Time Mage series, like I'm all on board.
Yeah, man. It's amazing what a good piece of art and typography, a good cover can close so many gaps. It can close so many sales based on the own gravity that it creates. And I think that's a missed part of the process sometimes with authors, and sometimes it can be an investment, but it can be an investment in the right, in the right way. So
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, Haley. I know we've got at least one final question. Do you have any others before that?
I have one final question, which is probably your final question also.
Yes, it is.
We're gonna put Jake on the spot. What is your favorite part about working with authors?
I love making really awesome covers, man. Like I love badass covers. Like just like seeing it when it's done. I mean, like just I love the process. I'm very humbled that people trust me with their work. And so, but just being able to make it look really awesome, taking their worlds and bring them to life. It's just it's just really cool to do that. And you'd think, like I said, 2,000 some odd covers. You'd think I'd have a lot of repetition. Like there'd be a lot of like same old stuff. But I mean, my style remains kind of the same. It remains the same. But all my covers, every one of them's different. There's not, even with the fonts and typography. I mean, there's a lot. It's all varied. It's all different. It's all, it's all different. Like those two covers I showed you right there. You got, a girl playing a flute in a kind of a magical situation, and on the other one you got a cat licking his paw outside of a window with a dragon outside. Like, I mean, just the variance of being able to do both of those things, and I love both those covers. People have asked me before, like, what's your favorite cover? And I'm like, I can't tell you. I don't have one because I enjoy so much of doing it. I enjoy so many of them when they're all said and done, and so, I get all giddy. Sometimes I get overboard. I'll be like, man, this cover's awesome. And before I even send it to the author, I'm like, this cover's awesome. And then I'll message my friend who's a cover artist, and I'll be like, I've done it again. I've got my hopes up. I hope they don't dash them, because I'm like, I love it the way it is. Let's leave it alone. It's great, and so and that has happened on occasion. But no, just bringing worlds to life. The world building part of it visually is super fun.
Good tie-in right there at the end. Look at you. All right, I love it. We love your work. I think your stuff is awesome. Everyone go look up J. Caleb Designs, buy his covers, work with him. He is an amazing dude.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we definitely enjoy hanging out with you. Especially when we got to go to lunch.
Yeah.
Was it 2 weekends ago now? I don't.
Yeah, I know, right?
Time is relative.
An illusion.
Time is an illusion.
It is, man. It's just like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. No, and you did kind of say something there, and I'm not gonna put you on the spot for this one, but this will be one for the authors.
Okay.
Your cover design artists do talk. Don't be a dick. Rule number 1.
Yeah, I mean, it does word can get out if it's a difficult situation. So
yeah.
So cool. Honestly, we've hit everything that we've wanted to hit with this episode, I think. Is there anything you want to leave our audience with?
I mean, listen, like I said, your cover art, like Shady said, it's going to be your book cover is going to be the first thing a reader sees, and so don't write it off as an afterthought. Don't take it lightly. It's definitely something that can be worth your investment for the success of your story, and so or the success of your product, which is your story. So yeah, don't take it lightly, and if you need a cover artist, I am available.
And you can find him at jcalebdesign.com. We'll plug that one more time. Jake, we were talking about a little bit about it, but are you going to any other cons, any other places people can find you live this year?
Yeah, I'm going for the first half of the year. I've got 2 more cons lined up. I'll be in Atlanta at the Atlanta Self-Publishing Conference on March 22nd, and then I am going to be in the North Carolina Writers Conference. I don't even know it's in May or April now. I can't tell you off the top of my head, man. It's on my calendar.
It's all good. We'll put it in the show notes.
But North Carolina, it's in Asheville, North Carolina. Both of them are going to be smaller cons. They're not big cons, but I really enjoy those. I enjoyed Atlanta last year. And then I look forward to going back this year. And and North Carolina will be the first time I've been there. But I'm looking forward to going up there too, so it should be pretty good. And then for the fall or springtime, or summer, fall, winter, I'm not sure where I'll go. It just kind of depends on what might come my way. So
fair enough. I'm sure he'll post about it on his website, jcalebdesign.com. I'm really good at plugging things.
I appreciate it.
Shamelessly. Anyway. Jake, it was wonderful to have you on.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say it, Haley. I know you went there. Right into the gutter. I am all out of whiskey.
The plug? Was it the plug? No.
That was the one that got her.
All right. Yeah, watch them plugs, boy.
I am all out of whiskey. Haley is all out of sanity, apparently. She's completely in the gutter now.
Hands down, best interview I've ever had in my entire life.
Excellent.
Awesome. We appreciate it.
We loved having you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
And we will definitely, I have an idea of how we're going to get you back on. And not to get too far ahead of myself, but because the three of us got to have lunch with Chaz and Carolyn. And so we will have multiple times to bring you guys all back. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Thank you once again for tuning in to this week's Worlds Asunder. I'm pretty sure this is episode 2 at this point. We appreciate your patronage, even though you aren't paying us at all. And YouTube hasn't decided to monetize us yet. But we really appreciate you guys stopping by. And we will see you next week, only here for World Building on Worlds Asunder. And there you have it. You've reached the end of another episode of Worlds Asunder. We hope you enjoyed our guest. Jake's been great. We love talking to him. We really enjoyed getting his insight, and I know Haley really enjoyed his class at Superstars last year. Speaking of, as you may have noticed, this is almost a year old at this point, so I apologize for that, but that's just how the release schedule worked out. We're just glad to be able to finally get it out to you guys, and we hope you enjoyed trying to find the leprechaun that is not in that box, and also enjoyed the discussion about world building and how your cover can help you sell your books. A little bit of author work there for you. Make sure to check our show notes where you can follow us and all of our great guests. Next week, or in 2 weeks, we'll be re-releasing The Main Historian Part 1. Yep, that's right, we're bringing you some Steve Ruskin action. I hope you enjoy. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. And as always, thanks for helping us tear the worlds asunder. We'll see you next time.